Hello and welcome to Bullside Chats with Balanced Veterans Network. Today I'm joined with Sunny Welch, who is the Director of Joint Forces, Active Duty to Agriculture. It's a nonprofit program that's helping our veterans in transition come out and find a spot for themselves in the agriculture world. I'm not going to speak too much more on this because I believe Sunny is going to be able to fill us in with all the details. Welcome to Bullside Chats. Sunny, how are you doing today?
I'm having a great day. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Outstanding. We're really excited to have you here, and programs like this are definitely needed. So to start, why don't you tell us a little bit about your program and what guided you to going about all this? You're not a veteran, so you've come into a space where we are definitely lacking resources, funding, knowledge, education on how to transition. I saw your paperwork, and I know you've reviewed that. What do they spend about $500 per veteran transitioning when our average training begins at about $50,000? So I can say for myself, I was medically retired. My career was cut short. I was a guy in basic training who said, I'm here for a career drill sergeant like my grandfathers before me. I knew I could do 20 years and get out with a nice pension. And 2.5 years in, and I'm on an operating table, and my career was over. And it was a whirlwind. They kept me active to help deploy our troops to Iraq. And as soon as that happened, I was booted out the door. The transition program was very minimally staffed at my time of departure in 2003. All the resources were going towards the war effort and towards fighting the global war of terrorism, which left us with over 2 decades of veterans now broken by the system and left without any help on our way out. So why don't you explain to us what your program is specifically and how it helps transition our veterans?
Yes, thank you. And I've got to say, your story, it touches me deeply, and it is far too common. It's far too common. We're really good at training citizens to become service members, but we don't apply that same method and that same thoughtfulness to making sure our service members transition into healthy and productive careers after service. And so that is the gap that Joint Forces is determined to resolve. So I founded Joint Forces because I've been involved with and loved veterans in different aspects of my life, since day one, as family members, friends, and partners. And what's not lost on me is that it's a two-way service contract that y'all sign when you enter the service. We expect and hold our service members to the letter of the law, asking you to die if that's what duty demands. But then when you guys come back, or you're medically retired, or you leave for whatever reason, in my opinion, we are woefully out of integrity when it comes to living up to our end of the bargain, which is a path to the American dream through service to this country. And so me and the guys that are working with me, the men and women who have joined the Joint Forces team, all of us volunteers, by the way, are determined to make sure that's not true forever.
That's exactly what we need, is a little bit more people coming together. If we can bring community together and everybody work a little bit harder to help one other person, the world can be a lot better. And you're right, with veterans in particular, at a very young age, we're molded in a very unique and rigid manner. And this is something I've seen in my time since I began with Balanced Veterans Network in particular, because I'm working with a lot more veterans now, as so many of us share the same problems. And it's the way they remold you to become a good soldier makes a good soldier, but it does not make a good civilian. Some of the simply the way we act in our attitudes and our stern efficientness, I like to call it, or the stern tone, the knife hand, the sergeant kind of attitude where you're leading by telling somebody to do something in a stern, firm tone and expecting it to be done now without any questions asked. That's great when lives are on the line and you're in the battlefield, but at home with your kids and your wife and on the job site where it's not that intense, we suffer. A lot of us do. I do. I have a lot of issues that come from even my short time of service, where I was programmed at that early age for that's how you need to be, and that's the expectations. meet them. Um, so it's really unique. So what in particular does your program offer our veterans? So I know it's active duty to agriculture, and I've done a little digging, but I want to hear you explain what it is, because reading it excites me. It's a program I wish I had closer. If I could get out to California and enroll, I would do it. That's how excited I am in reading your operational plan. So go ahead and fill us in with some details here.
Sure. So, Joint Forces is designed to be a fully supported transition system that takes into account all of the things the military is great at. I mean, I know that everybody feels differently about their service just from the conversations I have with the veterans that I work with. But we cannot deny that the military is excellent at creating soldiers, airmen, sailors. So I looked at how they go about turning civilians into successful service people, and we're taking that same approach on the back end, but doing it through an agricultural lens. So the key components of the Joint Forces program are the tools, the time, and the community necessary to create a new foundation. And so as we are looking at people transitioning out, we're going to be creating farms across the country where people will come and have a year-long live work apprenticeship where they get on the job training from veteran farmers and then also get 1 day a week of mandatory personal development. 4 days a week on the job training, learning the ins and outs of agriculture, irrigation, pest management, soil science, growth cycles, light, all of those things that are easily transferable to a number of different careers after service. And then factoring in the need for personal development, the need to integrate the experiences, however they may have come down the pipe in the military, it changes you. You have experiences going through boot camp, assimilating into this entirely new culture, performing whatever job under duress. It's a stressful experience, and it will change you as a person. It's designed to. And so what we're hearing is that there are a lot of different reflections around people's experience in the military. But one thing that I've heard over and over again is that a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, a sense of duty is the best part of the job. So at Joint Forces, we are designing a training program that allows our participants to really get in touch with their personal mission so that they can carry that sense of purpose with them throughout their lives and achieve at those high levels that only a passion and personal connection can really give you in their civilian careers. So right now we're still in the fundraising phase, but we already have run a pilot program with a veteran village in Windsor, California, which is a transitional housing system for folks that have fallen through the cracks, lots of mental health issues, lots of addiction issues that are just now getting back on their feet. And we saw some great results, which I'm happy to share with you if you want to learn some more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to agree again with my experiences with working with other veterans, a sense of purpose is lost. You get men and women who, pardon my language, but they're ass kickers. They're type A, they're go-getters. And for whatever reason, whatever each person's story is, their ability to do that was cut short early. And a lot of veterans, be it from physical or mental health or whatever it is, or just the fact that, like I said, when I joined, I'd be fully retired right now if I didn't get medically retired. I'd be done. I'm, in my mid 40s, and 5 years ago, I would have hit my 20-year mark,
Mm-hmm.
But these people are the kind of people who are willing to jump out of airplanes and do whatever it takes. And then they're home now. And they lose that sense of purpose. You're out running every morning with a group of people. You're not going to fall behind. These people are going to push you forward again and make sure you stay in the run. You always got tasks. You always have something to do. And with what we do with the alternative medicine realm and Balanced Veterans Network, I myself I teach people how to garden. I teach people how to indoor farm, how to produce their own medicine. If they can't grow medicine, I want them to grow plants, because
Mm-hmm.
there is absolutely therapy in growing. There is science out there that shows putting your hands in the soil, when those microbes interact with your microbiome, it releases endorphins, and it can positively change you and start having a better a better quality of life. Very simply, growing plants is great for you. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the pilot program and some of the results that you guys have seen and quantified by having the program actually rolled out and started, because this is just awesome.
Yes. This is my passion, right? Everybody has their why in life, and I've been really blessed to find mine. And I happened to find mine while going through the exact process that we've laid out in the Joint Forces program. I lived and worked on a farm. I had a chance to be with myself, to take it easy for a little bit, work as a team, and get real about what I was called to do here. And Joint Forces came out of essentially a year-long training camp that I put myself through on a cannabis farm in Northern California while working with veteran farmers. So the reason I'm advocating for this so much is because I've walked it, and it is not maybe the way, but a way that I think many people can find their sense of personal mission as well. I'm glad that you get so much benefit out of the gardening that you do, and to teach is to master. So sharing those skills with those that you serve is also a service to yourself. The pilot program we did at the Veteran Village to date is one of the things I'm most proud of. We went in and installed some raised garden beds at this Veteran Village, which is about 60 units, all of them individual apartments. There were people there in their 20s all the way up to their 80s, which tells me that the need for support for every generation of warfighter is still very, very much present. And so we're not behind, we're right on time. So my team and I work with some other veterans, and also I'm a civilian, as you know. We have plenty of civilians on our team who care about society, who care about showing up for those who showed up for us. And so as a group, we installed some raised beds, and then we had a bi-weekly garden club where we asked veterans to come join us if it was something that they were interested in. Nobody was forced, everybody was invited. And at the beginning of each garden club, we had a little survey where we asked people, how are you feeling and what would you like to get out of today? And then after about an hour of garden activities, we would wrap up and say, how are you feeling now and what did you get out of today? Well, every single veteran that came and worked with us and came and experienced this garden club with us, 100% of our participants reported an improvement in their overall emotional well-being and a reduction in at least one upstream risk factor for suicide. So we saw tangible benefits from everyone who came every time, no matter the state that they arrived in. When they left, they reported feeling on average 20% better and a reduction in upstream risk factor for suicide. So we're seeing these results as a really solid foundation to stand on, saying if this were available every day for more hours, we believe and we're ready to prove that these results would continue and would be exponential.
100%. I can't even begin to agree with everything that you're saying. And again, seeing it quantified and having a program that's showing the world just how valuable this is just, it's life-changing. If we can reach one veteran at a time, we're doing something right. And that's what I want to tell you is sometimes it is only one person, but to know that your class was filled every time and you saw positive results from it is just, thank you for what you're doing. As a veteran, I want to thank you. Service like that back to the community is what we need. I keep repeating myself on that, but we're force fed this way of, well, here's the VA, here's your pills, take your pills and call us back. And when you call the VA for therapy too, you're often left for several weeks before you're actually getting in to see your mental health professionals, and kind of just left alone with your prescriptions. The first side effects are usually altering mental health in ways you don't want, suicidal ideations, inability to sleep, all these other things. So then you're taking other pills when it is as simple as getting out, getting back to nature. It's something that is inherently in all of us, even though we've stepped away from it in modern society. We're less than 100 years away from everybody producing vegetables on their own farms, but people today have no idea how to do it. When I teach people how to garden in their home and they produce their own medicines, and they're just blown away, like, how I can't believe I could do that. It's in every one of us, and when we start doing it, it definitely unlocks the happy biome. My spot to go when I'm frustrated or struggling for my day is my indoor garden. It is, the lights are on, there's oxygen being given off, there's just the beauty in nature. You're seeing it grow. And like you said, with the purpose, plants can give you something negligible every day. You can go to bed that night and wake up in the morning, but that plant just got that much bigger. And so the results are almost immediate gratification, which is very hard to find in anything else. I mean, we get it now by scrolling through our phone. That's how we're unlocking endorphins. Those aren't the healthy endorphins that we need, though. We're left struggling with a low after that. That's not the same. If you go out in your garden and you're blessed by that plant in the morning, and then at dinner time you're eating some of your harvest, like, we all know that the tomatoes you grow at home are the best tomatoes you ever had, because they're heirloom varieties and they're not what ships best and fits the store's best variety. It's what you've done, and you've cultivated that relationship with the plant, and it gives back to you tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's one more piece that's really important. I'm glad that you touched on the way that our system is set up now. And I want to make it clear, I believe that people that are working in the VA are doing the best they can with limited resources, and that we just need to be more strategic and more mindful about how we're approaching things. And it needs to come from a system standpoint rather than a band-aid standpoint. But specifically the pills and the difficulty getting into therapy offices and having to wait months to get a chance to resolve a problem. A lot of people just don't have that. And it's isolation. So we are approaching the upstream risk factors for suicide rather than trying to catch people in crisis. We're like, how do we keep people from ending up there in the first place? So community. What's a really key part of the Joint Forces program, the pilot program, and what I'm advocating for is healing happens in community. And you feel so much less like a, pardon my language, but you feel so much less like a screw up or a fuck up when you're around a bunch of other people that you can relate to, who have had similar experiences and who can normalize the challenges that you're having and help you chart a path to overcoming them. When you're given a pill prescription, it's a singular and private and often really lonely experience, even full of shame that your well-being might be attached to these pills. And there are also, like you said, these cascade of side effects that then cause more pills and more pills and more pills. And it's really easy to just start looking to chemicals and to substances and to pharmaceuticals for all of the answers to all of your problems, when really what we're seeing is that healing happens most deeply in community, and it can require far fewer prescriptions because there's more sharing of knowledge and tools and resources rather than just relying on what comes inside of an orange bottle.
I agree. At Balance Veterans Network, that's exactly what we are. We are a community that's founded around alternative modalities of healing. Our pillars are, mental wellness, community, movement, Project Triangle, which is ethogens and other alternative medicines like mushrooms and MDA treatment and ketamine assisted therapies and stuff like that. And then Operation 1620, which is the cannabis side of it. And I feel that a lot of these things rabbit hole themselves. If you start something as simple as an alternative medicine, and maybe you're growing alternative medicine, that can start changing the way you think about healing. And it does stem from community. To have these conversations, especially with veterans. Again, I'm gonna say it back to those kind of type A personalities. I'm a gardener. I mean, I'm a war fighter. I'm this or that. I've identified myself with this. When you see another veteran opening up to these ways, it makes them feel more comfortable. Like you said, the similar experience. That's why when we heard about what you're doing, I'm like, I want to bring this to my community, because it is all about the community and the network. We all can't do all the same things. Balanced Veterans Network can't start a farm and everything. But if we can connect some of our people with this thing or share these resources and just show more quantifiable evidence and help you spread your word and help, you can help us spread our word, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is us coming together as people, veterans, civilians, we're all people. We need to drop all the other BS that's going on in this world and remember that we need to take care of one another. And simple things, growing plants. I also read that. So not only are you providing veterans with this training, you are also helping food insecurities in the communities where this is going to come up, and on military bases. Because let's be honest, the civilian population who's listening to this thinks that everybody in the service is rich. I'm here to tell you, we're not. Most of the people you see in service are under 25 years old. They're on that 6 years. They're single young people who have zero experience with money. Everywhere outside the military base is ready to give you the loan of a lifetime for the fastest, coolest car you've ever wanted. Okay. And then we go out and we buy the fanciest clothes we have, because the Army's buying our clothes we're wearing 5 days a week. So the 2 days a week you see me out, I'm in the freshest gear you can get, But the reality is, especially when they start having family members, the military don't pay that good. And you have these men and women who are stuck behind. Well, their family member is deployed or in a foreign country. We're always at war. Anybody watching this who's unfamiliar, we are at war. We're in different countries right now. We have on average, I think it's like 28,000 people deployed in the Republic of Korea every year. That's a 1-year tour, and you don't get to bring your family with on 90% of that tour. Very few people can bring their family member with them to South Korea. That is, it's an armistice. It's not even a peace treaty there. It is still considered an active war zone, and you get combat pay. That plus all the other places we're at in the Middle East and Africa. We have 2-year deployments in Germany. These people are away from home and they're separated. And it's very difficult for those that are left behind. Those are proud men and women at home with their children, and they don't want to go to the food banks. They want to be able to do it themselves. They're like, my husband serves, my wife is serving. Why am I struggling to feed my family? This is the reality. The economy is everything has gone up in the last year, and none of the wages are matching it, even with the increases in VA pay and the pay it's one of the largest increases in pay for active duty this year in a long, long time. It's still not going to meet the need for the groceries alone that these people have to face. And remember that these people who are raising the families while their people are deployed, they're doing it without the other family member. So they don't have the ability to hold full-time jobs like they would, or they're having to pay for childcare, which is through the roof expensive. So again, props to what you're doing for bringing food security back to the community. So this just compounds itself in so many ways as a positive for the community.
Yes, we're really excited. The pilot program that we did, there were 60 units on that little housing establishment. And through our garden, we were able to donate. Not everybody participated, right? Not everybody's a gardener. And a lot of people are, especially in that population, were really reluctant to even be involved in group settings through their own trauma, which is understood, right? But the food that we grew there and the fact that the garden was there meant that we were able to share all of the produce with those 60 households. So one garden impacted the veterans that came to work with us, but then there were these other ripple effects of other people being able to reap the benefits of the work. And that's what it's all about, is creating abundance and an open invitation for folks to come and participate at whatever level they can, even if it's just enjoying the gazpacho from the tomatoes and the cucumbers that we produced.
That's exactly it. It's the ripple effect. And I'm going to mention that the way, from my understanding, growing organically as you're trying to do, I'm here to tell you, as somebody that's got my experience, I don't have any college degrees in it, but I've done living soil master classes, and I've dove down the rabbit hole of organic farming. You are providing a more nutrient dense fruit and vegetable for this community. This is the way to fix our health. Our gut health and our mental health are directly combined. So when we're growing things organically and we're using those soil microbes to unlock the minerals and the nutrients for the plant to uptake that are then stored in those plants, we as human beings are able to gather those nutrients in a far greater way and impact our bodies in a better way. Like you said, like making good the gazpacho and stuff like that. It is so much better for your gut biome, and gut health leads to mental health. It is all tied together, and it's something that we're again is lost in the here have a pill to fix things.
Yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily. Maybe you need to start gardening and focus a little bit on eating more healthy. You can still have fast food and stuff. It's about finding balance. Adding some of these things to your life can show great benefits. And then as you start eating in a more healthy, nutritious way, you're going to start noticing that, maybe that fast food doesn't taste as good. It's so salty. That tomato from the store just tastes like water and mush. Like there's no flavor to it. I keep referencing tomatoes because it's one of my favorite fruits to grow, and it's super easy to grow, and the quality is just significantly different. Like an heirloom tomato versus a beefsteak tomato out of the supermarket they're not even in the same ballpark.
No, it's night and day. And I am a stickler, and I've been very blessed. I'm not a solo unit in this mission at all. I've got a really great counterpart. His name's Dante Graham. He's an Army veteran himself and a really talented farmer. And we were pretty obsessive about the soil that we brought in, the seeds that we brought in, even the plant wash that we used through Lost Coast Plant Therapy was all organic, poison-free. And I'm of the opinion, I'm here to serve the veteran community. I know that. And I'm of the opinion that y'all have already been exposed to way more chemicals than anybody needs to. So I'm not going to feed you any. You've already had plenty of toxic exposure from however long you were in. I believe that it's up to us to start putting it in the other direction.
Yeah, the depleted uranium and all the other crap, and then like the mystery shots that we all got when we went in, and God only knows what these military bases are filled with in the training grounds, the old lead and munitions, and now they're showing like the firefighting foams having all this problems, and everybody that's been exposed to that. So it's
I'm
really,
gonna feed you organically because we've got some ground to clear.
and the thing is growing in that manner fixes the soil. The regenerative practices are far better for our environment. We're actually able to sequester carbon that way and store it back in the ground. So the benefit is just, again, the ripple effect keeps going down. I did hear you shout out Lost Coast Plant Therapy. I will shout them out as well. They have not helped BVN directly at all. I believe we get a discount code from them, but I will say they're one of the better products. They're one of the products that I use in my garden, along with some other biological pesticides, things like Bavaria bassiana. And I'm all about the microbial inoculants, what I can do to fight the pest with other, microbes and nematodes and stuff like that is absolutely the way to go about it. So that's really cool. And if you ever need any help with that, I believe he's based out of California. Sink Angel Matthew Gates does classes. I took a Pestapalooza class with him, and the amount of knowledge he does commercial farm, where he goes out and helps the different farms, be it cannabis or almonds or all different kinds of products throughout our country. He's a plethora of knowledge, and I'm certain if you guys ever come into problems on your farm, he would be the person to reach out to. And man, the guy's just a absolute gold mine of resources and helps people out. He helps me out with some of the pest identification where I've needed. Just on Instagram, I've sent him messages directly, and he's identified and helped me, because I've sent him along with the message like, hey, I'm a person that's just trying to help other people, and I've got a pest that I can't identify, because sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. Sorry, I get a little bit rambly talking about gardening myself. So down the rabbit hole we went there. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight about your organization? Where can people find you if you have a website or anything like that right now, or Instagram, Facebooks, anything like that?
Yeah, there are actually a couple of things I want to make really clear because I need y'all's help. Over the summer, I managed to make some outreach to the Kennedy campaign. They hosted, or they had on his Instagram page, requesting videos of people's gardens that they would post them up. And so I sent them a video of the Veteran Village Garden and an email about what we were doing, just doing whatever I can to raise awareness about our program because right now it's self funded. You know, I'm paying for this and I'm working really hard to grow awareness so that we can get those folks and those policymakers who have the keys to the kingdom to look at what we're proposing. And so, my request to everybody here is go onto our website. I have started to make inroads with the VA and the incoming administration. And my request is that the entire veteran community go onto our website, read the proposal, and then there's a little button you can click where you can sign a statement of support. All we're asking is that veterans who read the proposal and think it would have helped somebody they knew or helped them transition to say so. Because the more veterans I can show want this done, the sooner it happens. So that's first and foremost. Our website's jointforces.org. That's the number 4 CES. It costs $0. I'm not going to spam you, but I need a list of veterans so that I can show them that I've got a big team behind me that wants this. So that's number one. The Kennedy campaign has been, or some folks close to the Kennedy campaign have been following as we've been progressing. And we've heard that this is a winning initiative and it needs to be put in front of the White House in 2025. Over the course of the campaign, I heard a lot about wanting to reimagine our food systems and needing to lean into rehabilitative farms and to live up to the promises we make to veterans. Well, this program that we've designed does all of those things. And as this new administration is getting ready to come in, I want the veteran community to hold them accountable to all of the fluff that was discussed during the campaigns and make it real. The veteran community needs to be at the very forefront of the policies that are going into action. It's true. We are consistently at war. We are never going to stop seeing veterans transition out of the military. And right now, there is no solid path to civilian success. And we can change all of that. We can change all of that. And it starts with joint forces, but it doesn't end there. Our program is designed not to just help people transition, but also give them a leg up when getting these other opportunities, either being matching them with mentors for entrepreneurship, using some of my relationships and some of my partners' relationships inside of plant medicine to create long-term career placement. We can do all of this, but we really need the veteran community to demand it. And now is the time. So please, everybody, go on to jointforces.org. And if you feel moved, support our mission. We're not asking for your dollars. We're just asking for your name and a thumbs up that, yes, this needs to happen. And then secondarily, I'm asking everybody to plant a garden. Everybody needs to grow something green, because if you're growing a plant, if you're investing in a plant, then you're investing in a future. If we're looking for reasons to live, if we're looking for reasons that tomorrow needs to see us, planting a garden is a really great place to start. It's good for you on a personal level. It can provide you nutrition on a physical level. It also gives you something that needs you. It gives you a tomorrow that's going to require your attention and your presence. And sometimes when folks are wondering what the purpose is or what the meaning is, something as small as a small garden or even just a potted plant that's relying on you can be the first step towards a future that you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I agree 100% about the garden gives you a purpose. And like I said before, for the people who are retired and kind of lacking something to do, I've seen it dramatically have an effect in a positive way on people's life, where then they're excited, they're happy. It's releasing those endorphins. It helps them get through the struggle. And the more you have those good days, the less bad days you have, it's a snowball effect. You know, the next thing you know, you've got an avalanche. So I'll make sure I'll have the link down below on the video here for your website. And I agree, we need to hold our elected officials accountable. It doesn't matter whether they're blue or red, left or right, whatever side they're on. The fact of the matter is the people who are in office are now in office, and they need to hear our voices. They need to hear them loud, and they need to put their money where their mouths are, because they always spoon feed us what they're going to do to help us, not just veterans, the community. We, the people as a whole, are spoon fed a whole lot of lies, and then we're not given anything. We're given the same line of BS. And we'll do our best to share. I've got a lot of people who are gardening with some green medicinal plants in our community. And a lot of them as well are like I said, that it transitions. You start with that, and the next thing you know, I'm going to try growing some tomatoes. I'm going to try putting some basil and some just herbs and stuff in the plant. And then the next thing you know, you're like me, and there's 75 different house plants, a 14 by 12 plot. I live in a townhouse, but the lot next to me is undeveloped, so I've turned that into a garden for the summertime. It's about 5 degrees right now where I'm at, so gardening is dormant for a couple of months. But I do look forward to getting out and breaking the soil and getting good compost and putting it back out there, and getting my tomatoes and cucumbers and a pumpkin plant out there, and some squashes and melons, because it's easy to grow some of these things. That's what else people need to realize, is that it is not super hard. If you are a veteran in our community and you're looking for medicinal seeds, reach out to me. We have ways we can help you get these seeds. And if you're not looking for medicinal seeds and you just want some seeds, let me know. I'll send you some sunflower seeds or something. We'll get you growing. Make sure you go sign up, support 4Cs. This is a huge deal. Funding is incredibly difficult for any kind of alternative healing. Again, like I said, what their answer always is, well, we already have these things in place at the VA. And the VA is doing the best they can with what they have. Unfortunately, their hands are tied by the system. It's up to us to request that we want these alternative therapies. We want things like agriculture. We want things like the ability to have cannabis. We want our medically assisted MDMA treatments and ketamine treatments to be paid for by the doctors. We want the ability to use cannabis. We want the ability to choose our way to heal. There's lots of tools in the toolbox. Lots of things can bring us healing. Taking a pill is simply, as Sunny said earlier, a Band-Aid over it. We're not fixing it. Things like horticulture therapy, routinely doing these things, changing your diet, adding food in that you've grown yourself, and medicinal herbs over a period of time can completely change your mindset and help you reconnect neural pathways that have been lost and damaged from the trauma we've faced. Not just veterans, but everyone in our community has faced different traumas and different things that break little pathways inside of you. And finding little bits and pieces to be happier and healthier throughout the day are going to lead to a decrease in use of the other pharmaceutical medications, decreased need in going to therapy with a doctor, because you're going to have your community and your friends who are gardening with you, and you know that that's going to be there for you every day. Everything you said is just, it mirrors the mission of Balanced Veterans Network, and I'm honored to have you on here and share your mission today. And I look forward to bringing you back on here in a year or so, and seeing that you've had a farm, and maybe getting a little live stream of the farm out there and seeing some, ground being broken and stuff like that, and supporting you throughout the whole mission.
Thank you.
Be awesome.
Yeah, our goal is eventually to establish an entirely new department, a department of transition. So what starts with joint forces, when we prove the model and show how well the folks who come through our program do overall, it's a real easy argument to make economically. Before we go, right now it's estimated that soldier suicide is annually a $6 billion issue. That's billion with a B. That's in healthcare costs, in lost economic input. And it's unfortunate that we've got to quantify the loss of human life in dollars in order for it to make sense for the government and for the powers that be to take a look at it. But from a purely economic standpoint, investing in strategic transition programs that set veterans up for success long term creates ripple effects throughout our entire society. The veteran community is the only community that is dispersed between all socioeconomic backgrounds, all regions, all races, all religions. So, if we really want to love into society and shift the way things are going, the most strategic way to do that is to focus on the veteran community, to live up to the promises of the American dream through a life of service. And then our communities reap the benefits of having these everyday heroes in our schools, in our environments, in our communities, really exemplifying all of those personality traits that I think that we're lacking right now in a way that's accessible and real. We need role models in our communities that are accessible and real, and that's exactly what we can have through supporting veteran transition in ways that we are not now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, Sunny. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you go to the 4Cs website. Again, I'll have the link shared down below. Give your story, share it with everybody you know, guys, girls. Get this word out there. Let's get this program moving. Let's use our network to help build this. Let's build our communities together. As I've always said, plant the seed and let it grow. Sunny has planted an amazing seed here. Let's give it a little water and some love from our community and watch it turn into a really giant garden that's going to feed a lot of people. It's really just a great program. Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.